TDS provisions under the Income Tax Act 1961. Our heartfelt gratitude to the Joint Commissionerate of Income Tax TDS Range for organizing this event in collaboration with the Hindustan Chamber of Commerce and Chartered Accountants Study Circle. Such initiatives play a crucial role in fostering awareness and understanding of the intricacies of income tax, TDS, TCS. Today's speakers bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table. We have the honor of having Mr. P S Muthukumaraswamy, Income Tax Officer, who will delve into the TDS TCS provisions under the Income Tax Act 1961. Following him, Mr. T V Sridhar, Income Tax Officer, will shed light on the duties and responsibilities of income tax deductions. Mr. L. Rajaraman, Income Tax Officer, will provide insights into the income tax, TDS, TCS, non-compliance and its consequences. Lastly, Srimati J. Janaki Karthikeyan, a distinguished tax consultant, will guide us through the nuances of the income tax traces portal. In a constantly evolving regulatory landscape, staying informed about income tax TDS is not just advantageous but imperative. It is our collective responsibility as responsible citizens and professionals to be well versed in the legalities and procedures that govern our financial transactions. This seminar serves as an excellent platform for interactive learning and the exchange of valuable insights. I encourage each of you to actively participate in the discussions, ask questions, and make the most of the expertise gathered here. I would like to express our gratitude to the esteemed speakers for generously sharing their knowledge and expertise with us. Additionally, a special thanks to the Joint Commissionerate of Income Tax, TDS Range, the Direct Tax Committee of Hindustan Chamber, and the Chartered Accountants Study Circle for making this event possible. Finally, please follow us on the social media for the details of the events being conducted by the Hindustan Chamber and participate to derive the benefit of these programs. I once again welcome you all. Thank you.
Good evening, dear friends. Good evening, and it's really good to see a packed house today, something that we have not been witnessing over the last few occasions. So let me thank each and every one of you for taking time off and coming here to attend this very important program, which we hope will be very interactive as well. Now, we all know that the Income Tax Act is probably one of the most litigated acts. So much so that according to the last count, there are more than 7 lakh cases pending at various levels. The CIT appeals level, the tribunal level, the High Court and the Supreme Court. And TDS being one of the most integral parts of the Income Tax Act should definitely account for a significant number of such litigations under the Income Tax Act. Therefore, this program, ladies and gentlemen, and this is an opportunity for all of us to interact directly with the esteemed officials of the Income Tax Department and get to know many things that probably we might have missed. It is also a request that, particularly for executives from various companies who have come here, to ask any kind of a doubt. Let us not be hesitant about whether the doubt is going to be a silly doubt or a complicated doubt. Whatever doubt that comes in your mind, this is the best opportunity for you to get it clarified. Now, what is the importance of TDS? TDS basically, according to some reports that I had researched, as a source of collection constitutes 40% of the non-salary income. 40% of the non-salary income tax is collected by way of TDS. So the department is keen that this 40% should go up. I've seen newspaper reports say, from the Commissionerate saying that they want to increase the amount of collection that comes by way of TDS. So this is probably one opportunity that the income tax department has taken to educate the assessees about the TDS, and wherever we have missed in terms of collection of TDS or deduction in TDS, they would like to make sure that we've all understood the provisions and we act as agents of the income tax department to collect revenue. So 40% of the income tax revenue coming from non-salaried income is attributable to TDS, and therefore it is all the more important. It is also important, TDS is also important because it accelerates the collection of tax for the government. The government cannot wait till you pay your advance tax or you pay your self-assessment tax at the time of filing the return. So this is a mechanism that has been devised long back where the tax collection is accelerated. Another advantage of TDS, particularly for the government, is that it avoids, or rather it prevents tax evasion. Today, if you want to buy a car of a certain value or you want to withdraw a certain sum of money from the bank account exceeding a certain sum of money, the tax has either got to be deducted or collected at the other end. So all this will immediately flag off the fact that a certain high value transaction has taken place, and it makes it easier for the department to monitor. Nobody who has suffered TDS or TCS can afford to underreport or misreport his income. So TDS is not only a source of collection, but it is also a mechanism by which tax avoidance has been prevented to a large extent. So therefore, in sum, I would request each and one of you to take the best possible use of this particular seminar, and I would now request the esteemed officials of the Income Tax Department, in whatever sequence they deem fit, to come and make their presentation. Thank you.
We have come here to just to share our views. It's not an education or because most of them are senior chartered accountants here, and most of them are senior persons who are here. Just to share our thoughts and to get going the thing because as Srikanth sir, most of my thing he has taken now, introducing about TDS and what TDS, why TDS, and what for TDS has been introduced. Everything he has told in detail. However, so as you see, if you see the collection of direct tax collection, most 50 to 60% comes from TDS nowadays. So it forms the most effective part of this thing. So if you see the sections have been come to yes now. Now some few alphabets are left. Maybe in another one or two budgets up to Z or ZA, ZB it will come. So in that this thing, as Srikanth sir has already told, TDS it was introduced for twin purposes. One is to collect point at the time of generation of income of anybody, and to keep trail on financial transaction. So now TDS is applicable to many payments in the, like dividend, salary, interest, rent, commission, brokerage, purchase, virtual digital assets, professional fees, etc. So here actually government cannot in all these things directly come and collect or deduct TDS, collect tax. So they are appointing the deductors as their agent in this process. So you people who are deductors, while paying, you are acting on behalf of government. That please keep it in mind. So it casts a statutory obligation to deduct tax at source, and there is no order required from an income tax authority. So as a deductor, whatever payments you make, And if it comes under the purview of the TDS, this thing, you can directly deduct tax and deposit the amount into the Government of India account. And it's a steady source of income for the government for any development. This thing, every month it is being for salary, contract or other things. It is being TDS is being done on every month, and you are paying the challan on every 7th of next month. So it is a steady revenue for the government, and it also widens the collection. So if you see the TDS chain, maybe it is not in the presentation, just I am explaining. So actually it is between a deductor and deductee. So the deductor deducts the tax and he deposits the amount into the Government of India account, and he files the TDS return, whether it is salary 24Q, other than salary 26Q, for NRIs 27Q. So then the payer, that is deductor, he will issue the certificate. So then the payee, while filing the return of income, he will claim that TDS automatically will come into this. If he shows the income as in his return, the TDS already deducted will come into the 26 years. So actually this is a chain. If any part of the chain is broken, so definitely there will be a mismatch of thing. Either demand will arise or some other problem will come. The deductee will not get the credit in the TDS this thing. When he files the return, then the income tax department will raise the demand. So this chain, just please keep it in mind, this chain should be followed. That is, deductor deduct the tax and he pays into the Government of India account, and he files the return, TDS returns, and the 26, that is, he has to issue either Form 16 or Form 16A or whatever the forms. Then only the deductee can claim in the return of income. So normally TDS is on salaries, income other than salaries, and non-resident. So salary is section 192, as you all know. Payer here salary is any person. So receiver is the employee. Actually, in salary there should be employer-employee relationship should be there. Then only you can deduct tax under the head 192. So rate of taxes, it is specified as per in Schedule 1 of Part 2 of Finance Act every year. And the exemption is, as of now, if you are in the old tax regime, 2,50,000 if your age is below 60 years, and 3 lakhs if your age is between 60 and 80, and it is 5 lakhs above 80. In the new tax regime, that is 115 BAC 1A, that is introduced in Finance Act 23, the maximum taxable limit is 3 lakhs. So time of deduction is at the time of payment. Salary is the only thing, when you pay only you have to deduct tax. So suppose this month's or 2 months salary, if you are paying sometime later, at the time of payment only, even though if your credited books are credited, only at the time of payment only salary TDS has to be deducted on salary. So TDS certificate is in the form of Form 16. So quarterly TDS returns has to be filed in this thing. First quarter is 31st July, second quarter is October, 31st October, third quarter is 31st January, and fourth quarter is 31st May. So actually, if the role of the deductor is at the beginning of the year. So you know very well that what income a person that is working under you will earn. For example, in the month of April, if a salary is 50,000, so you can very well, that 50,000 will not be reduced for the 11 months. Maybe it may be increased if he is working under you for all the 12 months. So if 12 into 50, 6 lakhs directly. So if he shows any deductions and other things, you can have all the proof, collect all the proof of all those things. And if it exceeds the non-taxable limit, then the tax has to be deducted divided by 12. Every month it has to be deducted. Then as I said, this new tax regime, 115 BAC 1A, it was introduced in the Finance Act 2023. This regime applies to individuals, HUF, AOP, body of individuals, whether incorporated or not, and artificial juridical person. Now, previously you have an option that is old regime, and you will opt for new tax regime. Now, in the from the Finance Act 23 says that this new tax regime under section 115 BAC 1A is the default regime. If you want to opt for the other regime, you have the option to opt for old regime. So then employee shall intimate, your employee should intimate you if you want to change for every year. Only in salary you have the benefit of changing for every year. So this non-taxable limit, as I said, increased from 2.5 to 3, and the tax rebate on the 87A, it also has been increased from 5 lakhs to 7 lakhs, and moreover, this new tax regime has a standard deduction of 50,000, just like your old tax regime. But the only problem is you will not get any of the deduction under section 10, like even 1014 or other things, chapter 6A deduction, except 80CC-D2 and 80CC-H2. Only those two sections are exempted. So coming to interest other than interest on securities. So interest, it is defined in section 228A of the Income Tax Act 1961. So yeah, as this thing, interest has to be made at gross interest and also accrual of interest. So actually the threshold limit is here is for a banking company and post office and all, it is 40,000 for a person below 60 years and 50,000 for a person more than 60 years. In other cases, other than these banking companies and post office, it is 5,000. If it exceeds 5,000, tax has to be deducted. A deductor is any person other than an individual and HUF. From financial year 1920, individual and HUF to deduct tax if total sales turnover exceeds monetary limit under section 44AB, or whose sales or turnover exceeds 1 crore in case of business or 50 lakhs in case of profession during the previous year. So in that case, they also have to deduct the tax if it exceeds 5,000 rupees. So sometimes the board CBDT exempt some of the entities from deduction of tax. By they will issue the specific circular or something else. So in that case, those who find in that circular's name and all, you can exempt that thing. The other one is 197A certificate, lower deduction certificate. If the directive produce the lower deduction certificate for non-deduction, and that also you can consider that also, and the tax need not be deducted if it exceeds 5,000 rupees. So 194C is the contract, payment to contractors. Actually, deductor here is any person responsible for paying any sum to any resident contractor for carrying out any work, including supply of labor for carrying out any contract in pursuance of a contract. So here, contract doesn't mean it should be written in an agreement or like that. There is no specification like this in the act, as far as I am concerned. If anybody is there, okay, you can very well change that thing. So for example, if you purchase a water bottle regularly from a single person for whole of month, and if exceeds the prescribed limit, then under 194C, tax has to be deducted. If it is for the whole year, if it exceeds 1 lakh, then for the same person, tax has to be deducted. If it is a single contract, only 30,000. If it exceeds 30,000, tax has to be deducted. So this thing is, there is no specific requirement for any written agreement of contract or like that. So any purchase exceeds the amount, if it is a type of contract, tax has to be deducted if it exceeds the limit. So 30,000 for a single contract, and aggregate in a year it is 1 lakh. If it exceeds with a single person 1 lakh, then tax has to be deducted under section 194C. If the person is an individual, at the rate of 1%, and if it is non-individual, at the rate of 2%. The same thing, actually, this credit it has to be submitted by 7th of the following month, and 26Q has to be filed as a quarterly return, so that the contractor will get the credit in his 26 years. You have to issue Form 16A. Here also the same thing. There is any specified any person, including individual HUF. Here also that 1920 financial year, last time I have told you, same thing it applies for here also. Payee is any person resident in India and the rate of TDS is 5%. So if the year the threshold limit is 15,000. If any commission exceeds 15,000, tax has to be deducted. So time of deposit, same thing. Within 7 days, that is last day of the month. From 7 days, within 7 days, it has to be deducted. 194I is the rent you pay for a machinery, building and machinery. If it is a building, 10% tax, 10% has to be deducted on the payment. If it exceeds 2,40,000, and if it is a machinery, it is 2%. Same deductor here is any person, including individual HF, who are subject to tax audit under section 44AB. Individual, the same thing. I have included individual here. Exemption is if payment does not exceed 2,40,000, then tax need not be deducted. If it exceeds 2,40,000, tax has to be deducted at the rate of 10%. So exemption categories are if the payee is a government or local authority, then tax need not be deducted while paying the rent to them. Time of deduction is same thing for the whichever section previously, same thing. TDS certificate will be issued in the thing of Form 16A. Actually, before going this, I have one 194IA. Maybe it may be of personal use to all of us. It says that tax has to be deducted at the rate of 1% by the buyer to any resident seller if consideration for transfer or stamp duty value of the immovable property or both is 50 lakhs and above. So for any of us, if you buy a flat or property or land or anything like that, if the stamp duty value and the consideration exceeds 50 lakhs, so while paying the amount to the seller, who is a resident of India, not non-resident, resident of India, 1% has to be deducted and balance has to be paid to the seller. So that 1%, it has to be filed in Form 26QB. It is a challan cum statement. So if you file that, the seller will get the credit of in his account, in his 26AS.
Flat purchases?
Yeah. Any property.
So when we buy a flat, we need to.
Yes. If it exceeds 50 lakhs, and provided the seller is to be a resident, not resident. Correct, sir?
Government value 45 lakhs. Public stocks guidance value 55 lakhs.
No, sir. That is applicable தான். அதான் இப்போ இந்த ரீசெண்டாக ஒரு அந்த ஸ்டாம்ப் டியூட்டி வேல்யூ அண்ட் கைட்லைன் வேல்யூ விச்செவர் இஸ் ஹையர்னு ஒரு ப்ரொவிஷன் வந்திருக்கு 23ல நினைக்கிறேன், if I am right. ஸோ அது வரும்போது டெஃபினெட்லி இட் ஹாஸ் டு பி, சார். And for flat purchase, this somebody, I think that has been removed, no, sir. Only that undivided share registered and contract is separately done. Now it is being done registered to. I think it is along with the undivided share they are registering, it seems. If recent.
State government. That is for state government tax.
Okay. So this is 194J is the professional income. So any person, including individual HF, who are subjected to tax audit under section 44AB has to deduct tax while paying to any person.
1 second. You can, since you are told about this 194IA,
Yeah.
please talk about non-resident also. For resident, you have said there's 1%. For
Yeah.
non-resident, what is the rate?
Non-resident is a normal tax at 20.33 or something.
That we have to
Yeah.
because otherwise it will be missed.
Yeah. Okay. For non-resident, in case of resident, it is told as 1%. For non-resident, it will be in the normal tax. 194IA will not apply, sir, for non-resident. So that is why I have not told.
No, but because what happens is many people miss out.
Yes,
They
sir.
will not deduct taxes also.
Sir, this 194A is meant only for residents, sir. So 194J, if the payment exceed 30,000 during the year, tax has to be deducted at the rate of 10%. So the data that is when to deduct is at the time of payment or credit in the books of account, whichever is earlier. So same thing, within 7 days of the last month, you have to deposit the amount in the Government of India account and file the 26Q and issue Form 16A. So fees, what covers under fees means professional or technical fees, royalty, non-compete fees, and no threshold limit for directors' fees. Any remuneration or fees or commission other than those on which tax is deductible under section 192 to a director of a company. This is with effect from 1/7/2012. Suppose director remuneration apart from salary they are getting as remuneration. If, it has to be deducted under section 115 JB2 or something, 115 JB. Then this purchases. Actually, there are two sections here. One is TCS and TDS. TDS is 194Q and TCS is 206C 1H. That is collection of tax at the time of that. The same, there also same rate applies for both the things. But if both the things are applied, 194Q prevails. There is a board circular on this. So, deductor is buyer responsible for paying any sum to any resident seller if the value of purchase or goods or aggregate of such value exceeds 50 lakhs during a financial year. So, payee is any person resident of India. So, here meaning of the buyer is turnover or gross receipts or sales in the immediate preceding financial year was more than 10 crore. So, the previous year if he has a turnover of 10 crore only, 10 crore is there, then he is responsible, he has the liability to deduct tax while paying to the seller if the receipt exceeds 50 lakhs. So, it is rate of TDS is 0.1% exceeding 50 lakhs, not for the whole amount. You have to deduct 50 lakhs and balance only you have to deduct 0.1%. So, time of deduction is at the time of payment or credit, whichever is earlier. So, so that's what the board circular says. If any transaction or purchase of goods attracts TDS under section 194Q as well as tax collected at source under section 206C 1H, then only section 194Q shall apply in such a case. So, if both the sections are applicable, 194Q prevails. This was clearly mentioned in the board circular. Then this was introduced in 2022. This 194R, it is a business perquisite. It doesn't cover for employer-employee relationship, whatever give that will not it will not cover those things. Mainly, for example, if you see the medical practitioners, they are giving free samples and other things and all those things. And for any commission agents, suppose for example, if LIC is paying his brokers, that is agents, any foreign tour or like any kind or something, it is attracted. 194R is attracted. So here the debtor is any person providing any benefit or perquisite to a resident arising from the business or profession of such resident, and such benefit or perquisite is in the nature of income falling under section 28(4). The payer should extend a benefit or perquisite to the payee, and it may be cash, kind, or both. So it is not that only cash; it may be kind. Like what I said, you can purchase. They will purchase a ticket and give it to them, or they will book some hotel for them, like that. It may be cash, kind, or both. The payee should derive the benefit or perquisite arriving from business or profession. So it has to be in tandem with the business, not like employer-employee relation. There is no necessity to deduct tax. In connection with business, anything is paid to for promoting the business or something else, then this section applies. Threshold limit is 20,000. If it exceeds 20,000, tax has to be deducted at the rate of 10%. Exemption is if perks or benefit received under section 17(2), that is salary, section 17 is salary, under the head salary income by the employer-employee, this section will not apply. Then this is TCS, tax collected at source. So section 206 is the TCS on sale of scrap. Scrap sales is 206C1 within bracket 1. TCS rate is 1%. So if the payer buys the 27C is filed, there is no requirement for collection of tax. Then these are all the subsections 206C, 1C, this parking lot, toll plaza, mining and quarrying, other things, TCS to be collected at the rate of 2%. This sale of motor vehicle, if it threshold limit is 10 lakh, if it exceeds that, TCS rate is to 1 lakh. Suppose if you are going to purchase on XUV or some other this thing, it will be definitely more than 10 lakhs. So TCS has to be deducted by the person selling. This is sale of goods. 206. This is what I am saying. 194Q and these two. 194Q provides if both are applicable. This foreign remittance. Important changes with liberalized remittance scheme under tax collection at source. Foreign remittances is under 206C 1G. For education, if it is through loan up to 7 lakhs, then no need to deduct tax. If it is beyond that, 0.5% has to be collected. LRS for medical and education other than A, that is through loan, up to 7 lakhs nil and beyond it is 5%. For other purpose, 7 lakhs nil and beyond 20%. This has been recently introduced in. LRS for overseas tour program package is 5% up to 7 lakhs and beyond it is 20%. Thank you very much.
First, I would like to thank the organizers, namely Hindustan Chamber of Commerce, for getting us this nice opportunity to deliver our address on this TDS topics, and also for the hospitality shown to us. Thank you very much. So let us see what are all the duties and responsibilities of tax deductors or other tax collectors. Actually, as per the duties and responsibilities of the deductors, there are 5 main responsibilities given to the deductors. What are all that? Obtain TAN, deduct or collect tax as specified in the Act, remit the same into the government account, file quarterly statement, issue certificate to the deductees. See here, there are 2 categories. One is government, the other is non-government. As far this forum is concerned, only non-government. So let us see the. Actually, the amount which is being collected from the financial year, it starts from April to March. Suppose you collect on TDS in April, you have to pay the same to the before the 7th of the next month. Supposing you are deducting money in April, before May 7th, you should pay to the central government account. That is the normal time limit they are giving. And especially for the month of March, they are giving extended time. Up to 30th April, you can pay the TDS so collected from the deductees. As far government is concerned, the same day only book adjustment. That just for information. Yeah, the forms used are, my friend Muthukumaraswamy has also told. For salary, it is 24Q. Other than salary, 26Q. For TCS, it is 27EQ. For NRIs, it is 27Q. That is the form number being used for filing quarterly statement. As I told earlier, getting TAN is a very first thing. For that, as we apply and get PAN in 49A, here the form number is 49B. So NSDL will have to get the TAN and get it registered in the traces portal. That is the first thing. And you will have to start deducting from section 192 to 194 as specified in the Act. Now let us see the due dates for filing of TDS quarterly statements and the issue of certificate thereof. For the first quarter, which is April, May, June, the time for filing TDS statement is 31st July. This is for every financial year. So pattern is going to be followed every financial year, standard only. For first 3 months, so next month we are giving time up to 31st of July to file the quarterly statement. And once that is done, they are giving another 15 days time for issue of form number 60A, certificate to the deductees. The time limit is 15th August of every financial year. Similarly, second quarter, it starts from July, August, September. For that, the time limit for filing quarterly statement is 31st October. And with this issue of certificate 15th November. Third quarter October consists of October, November, December. Time limit is 31st January. And the issue of certificate is 15th February. The last quarter, if you see slide changes will be there, slide change. January, February, March, that is the last 3 months. The time they are giving up to 31st May. Extended time they are giving. So up to 31st May, we can find the quarterly statement. Last, that is last fourth quarterly statement, final quarterly statement. And the time given is 15th June of every month. Here, the maintaining the time limit is very, very important, especially this TDS thesis, because even one day, even for a 1 day delay, rupees 200 fine under section 234E will be charged, and which we are seeing as a common phenomenon now. Even people are paying nowadays also, or even 2 days, 3 days, they are paying 234E unnecessarily. So the timeline is very, very important. Noting down the timeline and filing the quarterly statement within the specific time is very, very, very important, and it is the responsibility being expected from the deductors by the government. And similarly, for TCS also, almost same, only they reduce 15 days time. Here for first quarter, there it is 31st July, here they say 15th July. Second quarter, 15th October. Third quarter, 15th January. And last quarter, 15th May. And for issue of certificate, 15 days extra, 30th July, 30th October, 30th January, and 30th May of next every financial year. That's what my duties and responsibilities over here. But one or two points I want to tell you. So this all these forms are doing in the electronic form only. No, it should be filed in electronic file only, and central processing cell CPC TDS is only processing that. And so the different another forms, just I will tell. For the salary, it is form number 16. 16A for other than salary. 16B for this immovable property. And 16C for this rent, TCS. And 16D for this, in Tamil they call it Tarag, this contract, something like that. And form number 27D is for TCS credit certificate. So these are normally being followed in the. And one important point we'll have to note, quoting the correct DAN number is a must. Very, very important one. Even there is a provision for charging penalty for that if you don't quote the correct DAN number. And exactly the PAN number should be properly mentioned. When you file the quarterly statement, from you are deducted, the PAN number should be perfectly mentioned. Otherwise, there will be a problem and there will be a demand will come. So that is the thing. And challan number, everything, care must be exercised in filing the quarterly statement, because that is very, very important. Even though you are deducting the tax and paying to the government account in time, filing the quarterly statement is a very, very important within the time and with clear details. There should not be any missing of things. And one more thing is, updation of TAN is very, very important. Whenever the person changes or any contact number, any that updation of TAN is a very, very important. That we have to do it every year.
What is the logic of what when we are deducting tax and paying every month? What is the logic of a quarterly? That is already captured with the
Correct.
quarterly.
It's a good question, sir. I believe it's a good question. So actually, most of the persons think that we deduct the TDS and pay to the government account with and what is the necessity of filing quarterly statement. See, the quarterly statement, in the quarterly statement only carries the important information from you have deducted, PAN number, what is in section in which you are taken the amount, everything. So it is very, very important. When that is processed only, the people are getting the credit in their respective 26 CIS. So quarterly statement is a very, very important thing. It contains the vital information such as from whom you have deducted, what is the PAN number, and the section which you have deducted, and what is the amount you have deducted. That schedule is very, very important. So quarterly statement is the, as my friend Muthukumaraswamy showed, it's a chain of things. First deducting tax, then filing quarterly statement, then see that it is getting credited in the 26 CIS, then issue certificate to the deductees. So these are a chain of things. Once CD is deducted means it should go up to the final person should, the deductee should get the benefit of getting reflected in the 26 years.
Before going to my session is somewhat unpleasant. Before going to my session, I wish to register my respect to Sh Chinthapalli Meher Chand, IRS, Joint Commissioner Sir, TDS Range-2 Chennai, for his able guidance to authorize us to deliver this kind of program. Next, I wish to register respect to the organizers, Sri Vijay P. Chordia, President, and Sri Srikanth Sir, and Tulasidaran Sir, and particularly Chitra Madam. For the past 4 months, மேடத்தை ரொம்ப தொந்தரவு பண்ணிட்டேன். நான் ரெகுலராக ஃபோன் பண்ணி இங்கே விசிட் பண்ணி ஒரு வாய்ப்பு கொடுங்கன்னு சொல்லி கேட்டேன். ஓகே, தேங்க்யூ. மை செஷன் இஸ் non-compliance and its consequences. அதுக்கு போகிறதுக்கு முன்னாடி ஜஸ்ட் ஒரு 2 minutes I will take this session. Take away on lower nil deduction collection of tax and higher deduction. Normally, dear tax deductors, the tax TDS provision or TCS provision will have at least 8 components. My friend Muthukumaraswamy has clearly explained who is the deductor and who is the deductee, and what is the threshold limit, what is the rate of deduction, then when tax has to be deducted, then
Return to be filed.
no, TDS provision, each TDS provision will have at least 8 components. First one is deductor, deductee, what is the nature of expense, threshold limit, TDS rate, when tax has to be deducted. Apart from that, you please note down, there may be situations you have to deduct either at lower rate or at higher rate, which has not been told in the provision. Please keep that is in mind. The provision will not tell. The provision will tell only 10%. But you can come across 2 situations. Suppose the deductee is giving a 197 certificate to you, then you have to go through the certificate and read the certificate, date of certificate and limit prescribed in the certificate you have to undergo. So certificate is valid. Even though in the TDS provision 10% is applicable, suppose if a deductee is come to you and furnish a certificate, you need not deduct tax. So that is the one situation. Next, what next? You may come across a situation you have to deduct on higher rate, which has not been told in the provision. And then the situation then, suppose if the deductee is not furnishing his PAN to you, what is the course of reaction? 20% 206A directly applicable. Suppose if he is furnishing PAN, which is invalid, 20%. Next, suppose if he is furnishing PAN, it is inoperative. What you have to 20%. From 1st July 23 onwards, if any deductee furnish a PAN to you which is inoperative, you as a deductor, you have extra responsibility to find out the deductees are specified or not. If your deductee is under the specified category, you have to deduct at the higher rate as prescribed in some other provision. Next, suppose if your deductee has not filed his return of income in the prescribed date and subject to other conditions, suppose such deductee is having tax credit of 50,000 or more, then your responsibility is more. What? You have to deduct twice the rate or 5%, whichever is higher. You have to deduct twice the rate or 5% as prescribed in the TDS provision or in force, whichever is higher. I will give you an example. We are in financial year 23-24. Suppose if your directee has not filed his return of income for the assessment year 22-23 under 139(1), further he is having tax credit of 50,000 or more, then your responsibility is very high. You have to direct twice the rate as prescribed in the provision or 5%, whichever is higher. So this situation.
How do you know whether it's liable or not? We can only know whether it's
No,
liable
there
or
is a
not.
mechanism in Traces portal. You can easily find out during the beginning of the financial year, during the extra responsibility on the director, during the financial year beginning itself, you have to collect all the PANs of the directees. And there is a very, very simple mechanism. You have to register in the e-filing portal or reporting portal, inside portal. You can verify PAN wise or bulk search also is available. 10,000 PANs you can put inside. Maybe in one day you will come to a conclusion. The system will throw out of 100 PANs of your directees, 3 PANs maybe comes under specified category. So you must be very careful. For those specified category of directees, you have to direct on higher rate. Next, after 31st July, 1st August, you please verify again, not 100, only 3. During April 1st, you have identified 3 PANs are specified PANs. Please, 1st August, you again please verify of 3 PANs only. Maybe 1 PAN will come out. So only your duty is to direct on higher rate for those 2 PANs only. Again, please, on 1st November, you please verify only 2 PAN, the remaining 2 PAN. And if 1 PAN is got out of specified category, subsequent payment you can direct on normal rate. Okay, next. 197 I have told, suppose if your directee is come with an certificate, you please consider. In that situation, you have to direct at lower rate. 206 CAA, 20%. PAN not given. If the PAN is invalid or inoperative, you have to direct 20%. Likewise, TCS 206 CC. If the directee has not filed his return of income, and if such assessee is having a TDS credit of 50,000 or more, then tax has to be deducted twice the rate or 5%, whichever is higher. Under 206 CAB for TDS, under 206 CCA for TCS. This 206 CAB or 206 CCA will not be applicable for the provisions 182, 182A, 194B, BB, IA, IB, M and N. Unpleasant part of this TDS awareness program. What is the consequence of non-compliance? First, if any person who is liable for tax reduction for certain expenses as specified in the Income Tax Act, and suppose if such person do not deduct tax, then such person will be deemed to be considered as assessee in default for such non-deduction of tax. Please look into this. நீங்க TDS பண்ணல அப்படின்னா அந்த வரிப்படுத்தம் செய்த தவறிய தொகையை you to pay from your pocket. நீங்க செலவு செய்றீங்க, ஒரு வட்டியா கொடுக்குறீங்க, வாடகையா கொடுக்குறீங்க, கமிஷனா கொடுக்குறீங்க, கான்ட்ராக்டா கொடுக்குறீங்க. தயவு செஞ்சு உங்களுடைய பொறுப்பு என்னன்னா அந்த செலவு வருமான வரி சட்டத்தில் குறிப்பிடப்பட்டுள்ளது. அதனால அந்த செலவு செய்யும் பொழுது வருமான வரி சட்டத்தில் குறிப்பிடப்பட்டுள்ள விகிதத்தில் வரிப்படுத்தம் செஞ்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் தான் செலவு பண்ணணும். பாலா ஸ்ரீகாந்த் சார் கரெக்டா சொன்னார். யூ ஆர் தி ஏஜென்ட் ஆஃப் த கவர்மெண்ட். கவர்மெண்ட் உங்களை நம்புது, உங்களுக்கு பொறுப்பை கொடுத்துருக்கு. பிசினஸ் சார்ந்து ஒரு செலவு செய்யும் போது அந்த செலவு இன்கம் டாக்ஸ் ஆக்ட்ல இருக்கா பாருங்க. அப்படி இருந்ததுன்னா அதுல என்ன விதத்துல குறிப்பிடப்பட்டிருக்குன்னு பாருங்க. அந்த விதத்துல வரிப்படுத்தம் செஞ்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் தான் செலவு பண்ணணுங்க. அப்படி பண்ணலைன்னா you will be considered as a defaulter. அந்த வரிப்படுத்தம் செய்ய தவறிய தொகையை நீங்க செலுத்த நேரிடும். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் எஃபெக்ட். நெக்ஸ்ட், நீங்க இப்போ வந்து ஒரு வாடகையா ஒரு 10 லட்சம் கொடுத்தீங்கன்னா உங்களுடைய வருமானத்திலிருந்து அந்த 10 லட்சத்தை கழிச்சுக்கிறதுக்கு ஆக்ட்ல ப்ரொவிஷன் இருக்கு. ஒருவேளை நீங்க வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்யலைன்னா, ஒருவேளை நீங்க வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்யவில்லை என்றால் 10 லட்சத்தை கழிச்சுக்க முடியாது, 7 லட்சத்தை தான் கழிச்சுக்க முடியும். 30% ஆஃப் த எக்ஸ்பென்சஸ் வில் கெட் டிஸ்அலோவ்டு. இது செகண்ட் ஆஃப் ஷூட் எஃபெக்ட். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து உங்களை வந்து வருமான வரித்துறை என்ன பண்ணும், நீங்க வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்ய தவறிய தொகையை கட்டுங்கன்னு சொல்லும். ரெண்டாவது, நீங்க பண்ண செலவு தான், அந்த செலவு உங்க வருமானத்திலிருந்து கழிச்சுக்கலாம். ஆனா வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்ய தவறிய காரணத்தினால முழுசா கழிச்சுக்க முடியாது, 70% மட்டும்தான் கழிச்சுக்க முடியும். 30% ஆஃப் த எக்ஸ்பென்சஸ் வில் கெட் டிஸ்அலோவ்ட். நெக்ஸ்ட், சரியா? வட்டி. ஒருவேளை நீங்க வரிப்பிடித்தம் ஒழுங்கா செய்யல, வரிப்பிடித்தமே செய்யல, அப்படி இல்ல டிடிஎஸ் பண்ணிட்டீங்க, அந்த தொகையை வந்து காலம் தாழ்த்தி கட்டுறீங்க, அதுக்கு நீங்க வட்டி செலுத்த நேரிடும். அடுத்து லேட் ஃபைலிங் ஃபீ. இந்த குவார்டர்லி ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் காலாண்டு படிவத்தை இன் டைம் ஃபைல் பண்ணலன்னா ஒரு நாளைக்கு 200 ரூபாய் லேட் ஃபைலிங் ஃபீ செலுத்த நேரிடும். பெனல்டி, அபராதம். ஒருவேளை நீங்க வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்யலைன்னா அந்த வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்ய தவறிய தொகையை அபராதமாக செலுத்த நேரிடும். கடைசியா அல்டிமேட்டா வழக்கை சந்திக்க நேரிடும். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் 201(1) அப்படின்னு ஒரு பிரிவு இருக்கு இன்கம் டாக்ஸ் ஆக்ட்ல. That section prescribes if any person who is liable for tax reduction when he is extending certain expenses and if he fails or if he deducts and fails to remit such TDS into the government account, he will be considered as assessee in default. பெரிய பிழைங்க, வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்யாம இருக்கக்கூடாது. வரிப்பிடித்தம் செஞ்ச தொகையை கவர்மெண்ட் அக்கௌண்ட்ல செலுத்தாம இருக்கக்கூடாது. இந்த 2 கடமை தான் முக்கியமான கடமை. நீங்க பிசினஸ் பண்ணும்போது 1008 பிரச்சனை இருக்கும். ஐ அக்ரி. நீங்க டாக்ஸ் பே பண்றதுனா என் குடும்பம் வாழுது, ஐ எம் a government servant, I am getting salary because you for tax money. சார் கரெக்டா சொன்னாரு. இன்கம் டாக்ஸ்ல ஒரு நிதியாண்டுல வரக்கூடிய வருமானம் எவ்வளவுன்னு தெரியுமா? த்ரூ இன்கம் டாக்ஸ் இந்தியன் கவர்மெண்ட்டுக்கு. எனி கெஸ்? லாஸ்ட் FY 20 lakh crore. 20 lakh crore நமக்கு வருமான வரித்துறை மூலமாக இந்திய அரசாங்கத்திற்கு வருகிறது. இதுல 50% மேல 10 லட்சம் கோடிக்கு மேல TDS மூலமா வருது. அதனால TDS is a very very essential tool. சார் கரெக்டா சொன்னார். ஆக்சலரேஷன் அண்ட் பிரிவென்ட்ஸ் டாக்ஸ் எவேஷன். 2 விஷயம் தான். ஆக்சலரேட் பண்ணுது டாக்ஸ் ரெவென்யூவை, இன்னொன்னு பிரிவென்ட் டாக்ஸ் எவேஷன். அதனால ஒருவேளை நீங்க வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்ய தவறினாலும் அல்லது வரிப்பிடித்தம் செஞ்சுட்டு அந்த தொகையை கவர்மெண்ட் அக்கௌண்ட்ல கட்டலைனாலும் யூ வில் பி கன்சிடர்ட் as assessee in default. உங்களுக்கு டிமாண்ட் நோட்டீஸ் வரும். சரி, வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்யல, you have not deducted tax. In one situation you will not be considered as assessee in default. அது என்ன சிச்சுவேஷன்? பை மிஸ்டேக்குங்க ஒரு இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் பேமெண்ட் கொடுக்குறீங்க, உங்களுக்கு லோன் கொடுத்தவங்களுக்கு TDS பண்ணல. So 201(1) says that you are assessee in default. ஆனா என்ன இன்னொரு ப்ரொவிசோ என்ன சொல்லுதுன்னா, சப்போஸ் உங்கள்கிட்ட இருந்து வருமானம் பெற்றார்ல, அவர் வந்து அவருடைய வருமானத்துக்கு வரி கட்டிட்டு ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்ணிட்டு அந்த டிடெக்டிவோடைய சார்ட்டர்ட் அக்கௌண்டன்ட் ஒரு சர்டிபிகேட் கொடுத்துட்டாரு அப்படின்னா நீங்க வந்து அசஸி இன் டிஃபால்ட்டா வரமாட்டீங்க. புரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டீங்களா? இது வந்து அல்டிமேட் ரிசார்ட் தான். இதையே நீங்க இதுவா வச்சுக்கூடாது, டூலா வச்சுக்கூடாது. There is a situation that you will not be considered as assessee in default even though you fails to deduct tax. எப்போ உங்கள்ட்ட இருந்து வருமானம் பெற்றவர் வந்து அந்த தொகையைக்கான வரியை செலுத்தியிருக்கணும், அவர் ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்ணியிருக்கணும், ஒரு பட்டய கணக்காளர் வந்து சான்றிதழ் கொடுக்கணும், 26A கொடுத்துட்டாங்க அப்படின்னா தென் நீங்க வந்து அசஸி இன் டிஃபால்ட்டா வரமாட்டீங்க. அப்படி இருந்தா கூட இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் யூஸ் டு பே. நீங்க எந்த பீரியட்ல இருந்து நீங்க வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்யலையோ அந்த மாசத்துல இருந்து டிடெக்டி என்னைக்கு ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்றாரோ அந்த மாசம் வரைக்கும் இருக்கிற கால இடைவெளிக்கு மாதத்துக்கு 1% 1% இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்ய தவறிய தொகைக்கு மேல நீங்க இன்ட்ரெஸ்டா செலுத்தணும். அந்த சப்ஸ்டான்ஷியல் அமௌண்ட் யூ நீட் நாட் பே, பட் யூ டு பே இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட்.
but not
Penalty 270C is applicable. Applicable, sir. Even though 26A is filed, it is subject to penalty. 30% of expenses will get disallowed if you do not deduct tax. If you are liable, நான் 10 லட்சம் வாடகை டிடிஎஸ் பண்ணல, 7 லட்சம் தான் கழிச்சுக்க முடியும். வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்ய தவறிய மாதத்திலேருந்து சப்போஸுங்க ஏப்ரல் மாதம் ஒரு கான்ட்ராக்ட் பேமெண்ட் கொடுக்குறீங்க, டிடிஎஸ் பண்ணல, யூ ரியலைஸ் யுவர் மிஸ்டேக், அதே கான்ட்ராக்டருக்கு ஜூலை மாதம் ஒரு பேமெண்ட் கொடுத்தீங்கன்னா, அப்போ டிடிஎஸ் பண்ணிட்டீங்கன்னா இதுக்கும் சேர்த்துன்னா அந்த வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்ய தவறிய தொகைக்கு ஏப்ரல் மாதம், மே மாதம், ஜூன் மாதம் 4 மாதத்துக்கு மட்டும் வட்டி 1%. If you fail to deduct tax, subsequently you deducted then 1% for each month. டிடிஎஸ் பண்ணிட்டீங்க, ஏப்ரல் மாதம் ஒரு 10 லட்சம் டிடிஎஸ் பண்ணிட்டீங்க, அதை மே மாதம் 7ஆம் தேதிக்குள்ளே கட்டணும். சப்போஸ் ஒரு 4 மாதம் கால தாமதம் பண்ணீங்கன்னா ஒவ்வொரு மாதத்திற்கும் 1.5% சிம்பிள் இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட். 234E காலாண்டு படிவத்தை நீங்கள் காலத்தை தாக்கல் செய்யலைன்னா ஒவ்வொரு நாள் காலதாமதத்திற்கும் 200 ரூபாய் லேட் ஃபைலிங் ஃபீ. தயவு செஞ்சு கவனமா இருங்க. இதை வெய் பண்ணுறதுக்கு யாருக்குமே அதிகாரம் இல்லை கவர்மெண்ட்ல. ஸோ யூ ஹவ் டு பே. ஸோ ப்ளீஸ் பி கேர்ஃபுல். யூ ஹவ் டு அட்ஹியர் டு த டைம் லிமிட் ஃபார் ஃபைலிங் தி குவார்டர்லி ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட். 271H சப்போஸ் நீங்கள் காலாண்டு படிவம் போடலன்னா there may be a chance for levy of penalty of 10,000 and it may go up to extent 1 lakh. 271C and CA. 271C is for TDS and 271CA for TCS. வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்யலைனாலும் அபராதம், வரி வசூல் செய்யலைனாலும் அபராதம். தயவு செஞ்சு இந்த பிழையை செய்யாதீங்க. சரியான முறையில் வரிப்பிடித்தமோ வரி வசூலோ செஞ்சுட்டீங்கன்னா இந்த மாதிரி சிக்கல்லே உங்களுக்கு வராது. கடைசியா வழக்கு. ஒருவேளை நீங்க வரிப்பிடித்தம் செஞ்சுட்டு வரி வசூல் செய்து விட்டு அந்த தொகையை கவர்மெண்ட் அக்கௌண்ட்ல இன் டைம் பே பண்ணலைன்னா கவர்மெண்ட் உங்க மேல கம்ப்ளைண்ட் கொடுக்கறதுக்கு வாய்ப்பு இருக்கு. வாய்ப்பளித்த அனைத்து நன்றி. தேங்க்யூ.
Any questions or can we move on to the next session? May I know
Yes, sir. They mentioned about the
பிளே ஸ்டோரில் போய் iOS இருந்தாலும் சரி, ஆண்ட்ராய்டாக இருந்தாலும் சரி, யூ ப்ளீஸ் டவுன்லோட் த டிடிஎஸ் நண்பன் சாட்பாட் அப்ளிகேஷன். அண்ட் அதில் வந்து நீங்கள் கேள்வி கேட்டீங்கன்னா இட் வில் கிவ் யூ a probable solution. Thank you.
Good evening to all. This is Sh TDS consultant and facilitator. My session is on technical session especially. I'm going to update few things like functions and facilities available in the Traces portal. Before I commence my session, I would like to thank Income Tax Department TDS Chennai for giving me this opportunity to handle this technical session. And also I thank Hindustan Chamber of Commerce and all the participants because it gives us great pleasure to be here in midst of you all. Thank you once again. So you have heard so many things in the previous sessions and all. So I'm going to update few things in addition to that. So you all know that deductors are having so many responsibility in complying TDS and TCS. Sridhars are also covered. 4 levels of responsibility is given to the deductors, right? Deduct tax, deposit tax, file ETDS return and issue TDS certificate. So I know that you all are well aware in complying the TDS, TCS provision. However, in addition to that, I would like to update only few things. So only 2 things I'm going to update here. So you may be a genuine complying deductor. You may have a doubt why I'm getting so many demands from Traces, isn't it? How many of you are facing these kind of questions? How many of you having these kind of questions? I'm a genuine deductor. I'm deducting tax on various payments and remitting those taxes within time and filing quarterly statement and issuing certificate also, even though I'm getting such demands from traces. Why? Why the deductors are receiving demands from CPC, TDS? You may have question. So I'll tell you what would be the reason for such demands in short. So these slides are all covered by the officers. So I'll tell you the reasons for unexpected demand. Okay. Failure to verify PAN of the deductee. Deductors are having so many responsibility. In addition to those things, a few additional care to be given in complying your TDS, TCS transactions while reporting while filing your TDS, TCS returns. These are the items to be taken care in addition to your additional responsibility. Failure to verify PAN of the deductees. So most of the deductors are failing to verify the PAN of the deductees when at the time of making payment, not at the time of filing the statement. Okay. So when you make any payment to the deductees, you have to verify whether the PAN is valid and operative. So if you fail to verify those PAN on the time of making payment, later on, deductor will receive demand notices due to this PAN error. You may receive demands from CPC stating due to inoperative PAN, 20% or higher rate to be deducted like that. So this is because of failure to verify PAN at the time of making payment. So deductors are advised to verify the PAN at the time of making payment, not at the time of filing their statement. And secondly, non-verifying of LDC, NDC issued under section 195 and 197. What is that? So your deductee may obtain any lower reduction certificate or no deduction certificate from the income tax department under these sections. All deductors have been given option to verify whether the issued certificate is valid or not. Up to which limit you can make payment to the party or the deductee, under which section you have to deduct tax at what rate. So these things are to be verified before you make any payment to that such person. Those who are claiming a low reduction or no reduction, that too you can verify in your traces portal. I'll tell you. So if there is any failure to verify LDC or NDC in your traces account, and if the certificate fails later on, and it finds that the certificate is validation failed, in that case, deductor may receive demand under these aids. So it is better to verify the LDC, NDC certificate in your traces account before you make any payment to the deductees. And thirdly, remittance of TDS and TCS on the last hour of the due date. As you all know that the due date for remitting TDS is 7th of each month. So any payment we make from 1st to 31st, that payment are to be remitted to the government account on or before 7th of next month. If there is any delay in remitting those taxes, what happens? Interest on late payment will arise. So I have given a reason that remittance of TDS, TCS on the last hour of the due date. So உங்க எல்லாருக்குமே தெரியும் 7th அன்னைக்கு நம்ம ரெமிட் பண்ணியே ஆகணும் tax. சில banks எல்லாம் வந்து they'll work 24 hours, 24/7 they'll work. Some banks will keep the transaction hold. On the very next day, they'll approve that transaction, right? How many of you face that thing? So all banks are not working 24/7. Some banks will keep the transaction pending and the next day they'll approve. In that case, deductor will receive, the date of deposit will be shown as 8th of that month. What happens ultimately? Interest on late payment will issue to the deductor. Who will bear for this? Either the bank or the deductor. Ultimately, deductor will suffer because bankers will not take responsibility of that because you have made payment on the last hour of the due date. So banks, due to some transaction, due to some management issue or server issue, they may approve that transaction on the next day. So it is better you can verify those taxes on or before the due date by avoiding this last hour remittance. So if you avoid that, definitely you can avoid interest on late payment demand from CPC. And fourthly, furnishing of incorrect section code. As you all know that we have variety of sections, right? For example, for 194I, we have the 194I is bifurcated into two, right? One is 2% and other one is 10%. And 94J also bifurcated into two, JA, JB. So it is 2%, JA is 2%, JB is 10%. So if you deduct tax on the JA or 4IA, 194IA, technical service, technical fees or machinery, rent on machinery. While furnishing your statement, if you furnish incorrect section code against the correct nature of payment, what happens? Because the transactions pertains to technical fees or the rent on machinery. While furnishing your statement, if you furnish any incorrect section code in the statement, instead of IA, when you furnish IB, instead of 4JA, even you furnish 4JB, it leads to demand notice stating short deduction due to the section code. So you have to verify whether you are furnishing correct section code in the statement against the actual nature of payment. So you can avoid those demands by verifying these things. And finally, non-furnishing of LDC. Even though you verify LDC, NDC in your traces account, it is mandatory to be furnished that certificate number in the quarterly return statement. If there is any failure in furnishing LDC or NDC number in the statement, that too will lead to short deduction demand under section 197 or 195. So to avoid that, if you deduct any tax at lower date or no tax has been made, so while furnishing a statement, furnish proper certificate number in the statement to avoid short deduction demand. And furnishing incorrect challan details. As you all know that challan details is nothing but four information: challan identification number, BSR code, date of deposit, serial number, and TDS amount. So whatever you see in your counter file, those things are to be furnished in your statement correctly and legibly in your return. If there is any incorrect or error in furnishing those things, that too leads to short payment demand stating incorrect information furnished in the challan details. This is one thing. And the other one is, if there is any error in furnishing the financial assessment year in the challan. As you all know that if you furnish incorrect assessment year, you cannot claim those tax in that particular financial year. We have a chance -1 year or +1 year we can utilize those challans. Suppose if you remit any challans by furnishing the assessment year as 2021 instead of 22-23. So this is also will leads to demand stating short payment. And seventhly, failure to verify compliance check in the reporting portal. And before that, I would like to tell you that uploading of quarterly statement. How many of you uploading your TDS, TCS return in the income tax portal? You are okay. Others, how you are uploading your statement through TIN Facilitation Center? We have the income tax department has given two options to submit their quarterly statement with a CPC. One is through income tax portal and other one is through TIN Facilitation Center. I'll tell you the advantages in the income tax portal first. If you upload your TDS, TCS statement in the income tax portal, it will process as early as when you upload those statements through TIN Facilitation Center. It's a free of cost submission. You no need to, deductors are not required to make any cost of uploading to the department. Only thing they will e-verify using Aadhaar based OTP or using digital signature. So you can avoid cost of submission, and secondly, processing time. Quick process will be done. I'll tell you the disadvantages in that portal. At the time when the deductor submits their statement on the last day of the due date. Those who are filing a statement on the last day of the due date, no, don't prefer on the last day of due date for submitting your statement, because when you upload any FU file, it takes 24 hours to show the status of that imported file, isn't it? How many of you checking after 24 hours about the status of your state return in the income tax portal? Because after 24 hours, deductors are requested to verify the status of that imported or the submitted file, whether it is accepted by the system or not. If there is any rejection due to some technical glitches, what happens? It will not be forwarded to the CPC for further process. What you have to do, you have to make changes in that statement, and again you have to follow the steps by submitting that FU file. This leads to late filing levy, because when you upload any statement on the 31st of the due date, so after 24 hours only the system will throws the status of that imported file, isn't it? If the statement processed or accepted, then it is okay. Your statement will be forwarded to the CPC for further process. Suppose if your statement got rejected, on the very next day, what you will do? You will upload your statement. That date will be considered as your date of filing of quarterly statement. If it is first of the next month, what happens? 234E ultimately will applies. So 200 rupees deductors are required to be there for closing those demands. So please avoid using income tax portal for filing your statement on the last day of the due date through income tax portal. It is better to go through TIN facilitation center for submitting your statement, because when the TIN facilitator accepts your FU file and form 27A, that statement will not get rejected at any cost. Okay, so on the last date of filing, please you approach TIN facilitator for submitting your statement. So these are the reasons. And finally, failure to verify complaints check in the reporting portal. I said, sir already explained. So you have to find out whether that person is specified person, yes or no. If the deductee is not a specified person, means there is no further consequences. You can deduct tax at an applicable rate. Suppose if you find the person as a specified person, yes, in that case, sir already told you that twice the rate or 5%, whichever is higher. So you have to comply those things before you furnish your statement. These are the reasons for unexpected demand. If you are taking care all these things, definitely you can avoid such demands from traces. I'll tell you what are the functionalities available in the traces portal in short. So deductor are requested to register their PAN in the traces portal to avail these facilities. We have variety of facilities in the traces portal. You can verify for a simple check of PAN verification. No need to go to the reporting portal for verifying PAN of the deductee. In the traces portal itself, you can verify your under PAN verification. It's a simple check at the time of making payment, and you want to verify whether the PAN is, even though the person provides you PAN card copy. Will you accept as it is? Just like that you will accept? No. You have to verify at the time of making payment under your traces portal whether the PAN is operative or not. If it is valid and operative, then you can deduct at the actual rate. Suppose if the PAN is valid and inoperative, then higher rate of TDS TCS to be deducted. And 197 certificate, I said, if any person shouts lower reduction or no reduction and he provides you LDC NDC certificate, in that case you are requested to verify the certificate is valid or not, and which section you have to allow that exemption, up to which amount, and the rate of tax to be deducted. These three things are to be verified before you pay any payment to the deductees. You can verify using this. And after filing your quarterly statement, will you check your status of your statement, or you will directly generate form 1616A? Statement to be checked under your traces portal. If the statement is processed without default, then there will be no further consequences. You can go for generating form 1616A and you can issue it to your deductees. Suppose if your statement found with the demand processed with the demand, you have to verify under default summary what further demand has been raised. So based on that, you have to make rectification, or if there is any delay in remitting the tax or a delay in filing the statement, so deductors are requested to make such payment and go for rectification by filing online correction under request for correction for adding those challan in order to close those demands. So these facilities can be done in your traces portal. And one more thing I would like to, and profile I want to say here. So every time deductors are requested to verify the profile information. So update valid mobile number and email ID of the responsible person, because based on this profile information only, any message or notification or error message from CPC will be forwarded to that profile information. Whatever email or mobile you provide in the profile, the intimations will be forwarded to that mail and mobile. It is for taxpayer also. It is for deductor, PAN holder, as I'm saying. For taxpayer also, we have an option in traces. There you have to update responsible person's PAN and mobile and email.
You don't have mobile and email?
We can't register, sir, or else we have to furnish consultants' mobile and email for doing this. So it is mandatory to have email and mobile.
Madam, 3 years back I gave my mail ID. The company I am not doing audit now. Still I am only getting the message.
Have they changed, sir, in the profile?
They are not changing. Immediately requested them to change, they are not changing.
Okay.
What is to be done?
We can't do anything, sir. They have deductor's responsibility to update that. You can insist them to change it. And main thing is request for refund. Sir also said, if I remitted excess amount, how can I utilize those amount? In two ways you can avail that amount. You know that minus if you remit any TDS amount in one financial year, that can be utilized for pre-financial year or post-financial, minus 1 year or plus 1 year. So you can, if you have any issues in that, you can utilize those amount, or else you can go for refund. Before you go for refund, there is some condition to apply a refund. What is that? There should not be any outstanding, neither in TAN nor in PAN. If there is no any outstanding in TAN and PAN, then the deductor can go for requesting for refund. So it is very easy process only. Only thing, the deductor has to furnish the challan's information, BSR code, challan serial number, date and amount. Traces shows you the refund allowable amount. If whatever amount you utilize, it will be taken, be claimed, it will show as claimed, it will be shown as claimed, and balance amount will be shown in refund allowed. Up to this amount you can go for refund. So based on that amount, you can submit your request for refund. After submitting this application, deductor requested to sign and submit this form 26B generated from the request for refund, along with a covering letter stating the reason why you have remitted this amount, why you are claiming this. So the reason has to be furnished in the letter before you submit any request for refund. There is no time limit for submitting request for refund. Any year you can submit, but from financial 11-12 onwards, you can, from 1st April 2011 onwards, any challan, any excess amount you have made in the challan can apply for a refund.
On the other hand, if a wrong assessment error is given, we need to get a refund and review, or it can be adjusted.
You can change the assessment.
Under where you have remitted, sir? Under PAN or TAN? PAN, we don't have option to change.
Advance tax, if you are given a wrong.
That we don't have option to change, sir. For that things, you have to contact the jurisdictional assessing officer for correcting that. I'm talking about the TAN alone. Okay, so that you can avail here. And if there is any nil transaction in a particular quarter, that too you can submit under your traces portal under declaration for non-filing of statement. You may have some transaction in one quarter, and you may not have you may not have transactions in some other quarter. So in that case also you can give declaration for non-filing of a statement to avoid further notices or letters from CPC or Income Tax Department. So these are the facilities available in the portal. I hope I have covered everything. Form 1616 will be generated from the Traces portal itself. And I said no, PAN verification. It's a simple check. When you provide PAN of the deductee and any form you select, it shows the status of that PAN, valid and operative. So if it is valid and operative, you can deduct actual rate of TDS, TCS. If it is inoperative, you have to go for higher rate. And 197 certificate validation, I said, this is available to the deductor in their Traces account. They can verify on their own. So the only thing they have to provide, the PAN of the deductee, certificate number they have to provide along with financial year for which the certificate has been issued. So this facility will gives you the status of that certificate number for which financial year it is issued, PAN of the deductee, entire information you can see here, valid from and to, up to the limit, certificate limit, up to this amount you can allow that low deduction or no deduction rate of TDS as per certificate. So every time when you make payment to the deductee, deductor are requested to verify 197 certificate every time when the time of making payment. So to avoid any demand notices from Traces. So outstanding demand you can verify on your own. So no need to wait for the physical copy to come from the department or from the CPC, Ghaziabad. So on your own you can verify whether there is any outstanding in your TAN or not. If you found any outstanding in your TAN, you have to make rectification by correcting any inadvertent errors in the statement, or if it is payable demand, you have to make payment and tag those challan to the consent statement for closing those demand and keep your TAN as 0 outstanding. This is compliance check. It has to be verified in the reporting portal. So it's an easy process. Already Sir said, if you want to check a unique PAN, using PAN search, you can verify whether the person's PAN is operative and whether the person is a specified person under section 206AB, yes or no. If you find yes, what you should do? Twice the rate or 5%, whichever is higher. If it is no, actual rate of TDS, TCS can be done. So these things to be verified. So when you taken care all these 7 steps, definitely you can avoid those demands like quoting of invalid PAN, short deduction due to other reason, standard deduction, 197 certificate validation fails, challan mismatch, and late payment, late deduction interest, late filing. The reason for unexpected demand. When you give additional care in all those 7 items, definitely you can able to give a demand-free statement to CPC. So this is what I would like to update. And Sir said about 194 IA. Any individual HUF purchases a property from an NRA.
194 IA will not come for NRA.
Sale of property I am saying. If the seller is a resident Indian, 26 QB will apply. 1% tax is enough to be deducted. Suppose if you purchase any property from an NRA, what you have to do? 20% off. There is no any threshold limit. Any sum you pay to the NRA, 20% tax to be deducted along with 4% education cess. If the property value exceeds 50 lakhs, 10% of surcharge, and it exceeds 1 crore or 2 crore, I'm not sure on that, 15% of surcharge to be deducted. So totally 20.8, 20.88, 23.92%. So these 3 rates will be applicable for an NRA. Subject to condition, if the NRA submits any form 13 to the international taxation, then you can wait for that certificate. The whatever rate they have furnished in that certificate, you have to deduct along with education cess and surcharge. So these things, even though they provide you 195 certificate from the international taxation, you have to deduct education cess. Not only the rate of TDS to be deducted, along with that education cess and applicable surcharge to be deducted. So all these steps what I explained here to be verified, because the buyer has to obtain TAN first. If you purchase any property from NRI, first obtain TAN. Then remit those TDS amount under your TAN. Find out under which period the transactions taken place. If the transaction taken place in January, the January comes in which quarter? Quarter 4. When the due date will be opened? Opened 1st April from 1st April on 31st March, quarter 4 ends. From 1st April onwards, you can file quarter 4 statement. So, you have to select form 27Q. Sridhar sir already said we have 4 types of forms: 24Q, 26, 27Q, 27EQ. It is for tax collection at source. For any sum payment paid to NRI, you have to select the form 27Q. So, in that form, you have to furnish buyer's information, challan in which you have remitted the tax, and deductee information like PAN of the seller, name of the seller, date of payment, consideration amount you have paid to that seller, and TDS deducted along with education cess and surcharge. If he avails any lower LDC or NDC, that certificate number to be furnished in the statement. So whatever procedure I explained earlier, the same will be followed to the buyer if he purchases any property from NRI. So after filing those things, he has to generate form 16A from the Traces portal. He has to register the stand in the Traces portal first in order to generate form 16A. And the same has to be issued to the seller. Even though the seller gets tax credit in his 26 years, it is the responsibility of the buyer or the deductor to issue certificate to the deductee without fail and within the due date. So these things to be taken care. I hope I covered all doubts. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. I can clarify you. That's it. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Commissionerate for having designed and conceptualized this particular program of making this TDS Awareness Program. They have actually taken it forward to the common man. We need to thank them for this idea of coming out of this program. Next, we also have to thank the management committee of both the organizations which have come forward, the Chartered Accountants Study Circle and the Hindustan Chamber of Commerce, for carrying out this program based on the design or conception given by the TDS department. And most importantly, we need to thank all the speakers, the 3 income tax officials and the consultant, for having made a wonderful presentation here with regard to the various provisions of the TDS sections. And last but not the least, we need to thank you all for having turned out in large numbers and for having attended this program and making it a grand success. We also have to thank the MC, ma'am, for having done the madam for having done the MC work. And that's all. Thank you.
जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
வருமான வரி பிடித்தம் குறித்த விழிப்புணர்வு கருத்தரங்கம். திரு சித்தப்பள்ளி மெஹர் சந்த் IRS வருமான வரி இணை ஆணையர் TDS சரகம் 2 சென்னை அவர்களின் வழிகாட்டுதலின் அடிப்படையில் சென்னை வருமானத்துறை இணை ஆணையரகம் வரிப்பிடித்தம் சரகம் 2 மற்றும் இந்துஸ்தான் வர்த்தக சபை மற்றும் பட்டய கணக்காளர் படிப்பு வட்டம் இவை இணைந்து வருமான வரி பிடித்தம் குறித்த விழிப்புணர்வு கருத்தரங்கத்தினை 19/1/2024 வெள்ளிக்கிழமை அன்று இந்துஸ்தான் வர்த்தக சபை அலுவலகம் அமைந்துள்ள H.C.Kothari Memorial Hall, Greams Road, சென்னையில் நடத்தினர். திரு விஜய் P. சோர்டியா தலைவர் HCC வரவேற்புரை வழங்கினார். திரு G. ஸ்ரீகாந்த் தலைவர் நேரடி வரி குழுமம் HCC சிறப்புரை ஆற்றினார். வருமான வரி அலுவலர்கள் திரு P S Muthukumaraswamy, திரு T V Sridhar மற்றும் திரு L. ராஜாராமன் வருமான வரி சட்டத்தில் இடம்பெற்றுள்ள வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்ய வேண்டிய பிரிவுகளின் சாராம்சத்தை தெளிவாக விளக்கினார். மேலும் வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்பவர்களின் கடமைகளை மற்றும் அவர்களின் பொறுப்புகளை பட்டியலிட்டனர். வரிப்பிடித்தம் விதிகளை சரியாக பின்பற்றவில்லை என்றால் எதிர்கொள்ள வேண்டிய சிக்கல்களை எடுத்துரைத்தனர். கீழ்கண்ட விஷயங்களை பிடித்தம் செய்பவர்களுக்கான செய்தியாக, அதாவது மெசேஜாக வழங்கினார். 1. முறையான வருமான வரி பிடித்தம். 2. காலக்கெடுக்குள் வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்த தொகையினை மத்திய அரசின் கணக்கில் செலுத்துதல். 3. சரியான காலாண்டு படிவம். 4. நேரத்தே சான்றிதழ் வழங்குதல். திருமதி ஜானகி கார்த்திகேயன் வருமான வரி ஆலோசகர் ட்ரேசஸ் தளத்தில் வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்பவர்கள் கையாள வேண்டிய நடவடிக்கைகளை தெளிவாக விளக்கினார். திரு வி துளசீதரன் பட்டய கணக்காளர் ஒருங்கிணைப்பாளர் CASC சார்ட்டர்ட் அக்கவுண்டன்ட் ஸ்டடி சர்க்கிள் நன்றியுரை வழங்கினார். வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்பவர்களுக்கான நலன் கருதி சென்னை தலைமை ஆணையரகம் வரிப்பிடித்தம் மேற்கொண்ட கீழ்கண்ட நடவடிக்கைகள் வரிப்பிடித்தம் செய்பவர்களின் கவனத்திற்கு கொண்டு செல்லப்பட்டது. 1. வரிப்பிடித்தம் துண்டு பிரசுரம், அதாவது பேம்ப்ளெட் ஆங்கிலம் மற்றும் தமிழ் மென்னகல் வழங்கப்பட்டது. 2. வரிப்பிடித்தம் கையேடு ஆங்கிலம் மற்றும் தமிழ் மென்னகல் வழங்கப்பட்டது. 3. திரேசஸ் தளம் குறித்த காணொளிகளில் தமிழ் வருமான வரித்துறையின் அதிகாரப்பூர்வ யூடியூப் சேனல் at Income Tax Tamil Nadu and PUDUC 9090. 4. செயற்கை நுண்ணறிவை உபயோகப்படுத்தி, அதாவது ஆர்டிஃபிஷியல் இன்டெலிஜென்ஸை உபயோகப்படுத்தி உருவாக்கப்பட்ட TDS chatbot, அதாவது TDS நண்பன் ஆண்ட்ராய்டு மற்றும் iOS பயன்பாட்டாளர்களுக்கு உபயோகத்தில் உள்ளது. இந்த கருத்தரங்கத்தில் 60க்கும் மேற்பட்ட பல்வேறு தொழில் மற்றும் வணிகம் செய்பவர்கள் கலந்து கொண்டு பயன்பெற்றனர். நன்றி. இங்கு வந்திருந்தவங்களுக்கு பெரும்பாலும் டவுட் என்ன வரி விகிதம் ஒவ்வொரு எக்ஸ்பெண்டிச்சர் செலவுகளுக்கும் பிடிக்கணும் அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு டவுட் இருந்தது. இரண்டாவதாக ரீஃபண்ட், அதாவது TDS அதிகப்படியாக கட்டிட்டோம்னா அது ரீஃபண்ட் எடுக்க முடியுமா, இல்லை அது இன்கம் டேக்ஸுக்கு அகேன்ஸ்ட் அந்த எக்ஸஸ் பேமெண்ட்டை அட்ஜஸ்ட் பண்ண முடியுமா முடியாதா, அது ரீஃபண்டுனா எவ்வளோ டைம் எடுக்கும் அந்த ரீஃபண்டுக்கு, அப்படி சில கேள்விகள் கேட்டாங்க. இதே போல் பல்வேறு தரமான கேள்விகளை கேட்டு இன்கம் டேக்ஸ் டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் அஃபீஷியல்ஸ் அதுக்கு தகுந்த பதில்கள் அளித்தார்கள்.